Hi, welcome to the Georgia Department of Education Orchestra community. My name is Sean Morton and I'm your community moderator. So for this set of webinars, we're going to have some teacher features. In these teacher features, a few different teachers are going to take some time and tell you about some of their favorite topics. These are all going to be Georgia teachers and they're going to just share what they really enjoy talking about. Then we're going to hear from Miss Sarah Ball and Miss Amy Clement, who teach at North Gwinnett Middle School. These ladies are going to share with you their tried and true tricks of the trade to get your beginning students set up for success.
Hi, my name is Sarah Ball, and I teach orchestra at North Gwinnett Middle School.
I'm Amy Clement. I also teach orchestra at North Gwinnett Middle School with Sarah.
And we're pretty passionate about setting students up for success from the beginning. And you can do that in fun, easy ways that they can then take home and teach themselves to reinforce good habits when they're practicing without you.
One of the very first things that we do in our beginning classes is teach them the My Bonnie game. So the words to My Bonnie lies over the ocean. Every time they say a word that starts with B, they have to stand up from their seat. So obviously they have to be on the edge of their seat. We play it with the music. It gets faster. It's a lot of fun.
Another one is to tell them to pretend they're a puppet on the string, especially if they're slouching like this. You say, okay, reach up to the top of your head, pull up on an imaginary string, and lengthen your spine. Again, making sure their feet are flat, but I think that lengthening of the spine is key there, and you can really watch them get tall and strong with that.
Another game we do in class is kissable posture. So we give them all a Hershey's Kiss and we put it on the back of their seat, and they have to sit up on the edge of their chair while playing maybe something easy, a scale, open strings, whatever. And obviously if they can keep that kiss intact behind them, they can then eat it after our activity.
Another one, and this is similar to the puppet string, is grow with my bow. So I have a bow here, and so Amy is going to demonstrate. If she was kind of slouchy, I, as the teacher, would be in front of her. I'm just trying to let you see, though, for the video, and would say, grow with my bow. Again, focusing on lengthening your spine. Then you can have students come up and be student leaders to do that as well. They can do that with the teacher, so that's a lot of fun.
And our last posture, reminder or game is called POP. We said that stands for Perfect Orchestra Posture. And every time that we say that in class, pop, you ready, Sarah? Mm-hmm. Pop! Students have to pop up out of their seat. So that's a good reminder as far as being on the edge of their seat, feet flat on the floor.
All right, so instrument position. You've got them sitting in their chairs correctly, good foundation, but they have to set their instrument up correctly before we can worry about left hand and right hand. So violins and violas, first couple things here, don't be a gobstopper dropper and the Bermuda Triangle. I'm going to talk about both of those. So we have the students trace, and I'm going to try to get closer to the camera. We have the students trace along their shoulder, up their collarbone, and along their neck, and ask them what shape that makes. And they will always say a triangle. And we remind them when we are putting our instruments in position that we want to make that Bermuda Triangle disappear rather than something disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle. But they all know about that, and it's kind of exciting and fun for them. And once they have those that instrument up there, violin or viola, and we'll show you those steps in just a minute. We also have the students practice with a gobstopper, or it could be a whopper. If you can't use candy, you could use a marble as well. And they're going to put that right here at the bridge, where the strings in the bridge here, right against the bridge. And if they can hold that up, that means their instrument's parallel to the ground. If they're a gobstopper or a whopper dropper or even losing their marbles, then that means that they're not keeping their instrument parallel to the ground. And it's a good visual for them to see.
All right, next for cello, and this is going to be very difficult as far as to show you, but I'll do my very best. First of all, making sure the end pen, we a lot of times do this kind of little trick where they measure between their middle finger and thumb as far as pulling out the end pen. That gives them an ish. It kind of gives them a place to start, and then they can adjust it accordingly until they get comfortable. And one thing that they're looking for is making sure that this C peg is by their ear. So obviously we'd want to prevent this kind of thing from happening or this kind of thing from happening. The points here should be right above their knees. Okay, kind of gives you, again, a guideline. We also tell them to make sure that it's angled. It should never be flat up against them. Same idea. Oops, sorry, that's you.
same idea with bass. And we angle the bass. We typically shoot for, again, it's kind of hard to see, between the hip bone and the belly button, and angle that bass and bring the bass to them rather than the student going to the bass or the student going to the cello. And as far as cello, we also remind the students to have them at their chest, their heart, because they love their cello, not their tummy, because we don't eat our cello. I think for us, our opinion is it's much easier for beginning bass players to be on stools. The caveat with that is it needs to be the proper height of stool. So have a wide variety of stool heights available for your students, adjustable stools. And it's just, for me as a non-bass player, a lot easier to play bass that way. So I feel like for an 11-year-old child, it is as well.
And I'm just going to include also with the bass, just making sure that when you have them seated on the stool, teach them how to sit properly, right foot on the floor, left foot on the rung of the bass, so that it's a little easier to manage. I think you're going to talk about the steps.
Yes. So for violin and viola, we have steps for all the instruments, but the violin viola steps, and I'll kind of turn it this way. We have the students, and this is usually easier for them to stand up when they do, just so they don't hit the stand in front of them, or if you don't have stands out yet, it's even better. So you have them hold by the neck and the chin rest, and step 1 is straight out in front of them. Step 2, we come up all the way over their head, which they like, but again, they're holding it with 2 contact points. Then here's the tricky part for them, but we have them turn, say, end button towards you. You will have a couple students sometimes do some strange things, but you can help them. Turn, that's step 3, and step 4 is when they cover that Bermuda Triangle that we already talked about. So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and however you're comfortable doing that with violin and viola, whether you come all the way up, some people will go out and up onto the shoulder. The most important thing is to come from above. Just keep that in mind, rather than trying to come from the lap to here, until the students know where the instrument's supposed to be positioned. So we have those 1, 2, 3, 4 steps for violin, viola. So corresponding cello and bass steps are slightly different, but they can do those with the violins and violas, and Amy's going to show you those.
Hello. So again, I have a cello, but you can kind of also imagine this for bass as well. So our step 1 for cello and bass, I'm going to kind of back up here so you can hopefully see me, is we actually, once they have everything positioned as far as the end pin out, step 1 is forward, and they're holding very firmly on the neck. Step 2 is back. So again, they can feel that instrument coming back to them rather than them going to the instrument. Step 3 is, I'm going to kind of show you here, is feel for rain with their left hand. And then step 4 is bringing that hand into the instrument. So step 3, feel for rain, step 4, just to create that good elbow height and also hand position. Oh, and one other quick thing, sorry, Ms. Paul, Sarah, is making sure that you have working end pins for cellos and basses. That is a must. If they're not working, if they're bent, or you don't have end pins, please make sure you get that fixed, because that's a must.
And then along those lines, for violin and viola, shoulder rests are non-negotiable. Now, it's awesome if kids can have, this is an Everest or a Kuhn, that's great. That's not required. Just the plain blue sponges that are contoured, or gray that are contoured, work great too. Worst case scenario, if you have to go to Walmart or any craft store and get some foam and cut it, so at least there's something to support and fill in that space between the shoulder to the neck. In our world, shoulder rests, non-negotiable. We're going to move on to some left hand. So to get students to sink into the string enough, we actually start by talking about marshmallow fingers, and we give the students 4 or 5 little mini marshmallows, and we practice squishing those marshmallows with round fingers. And then that's also when we talk about round tires versus flat tires. And students know in a car you'd rather have a round tire than a flat tire, and they sink into the marshmallow. And if you use that terminology of sink into the marshmallow and sink into the string, it helps keep too much tension from happening, but you also prevent a lot of this from them not sinking in enough. And if you do start hearing that pizzicato thud, then we just have to say marshmallow fingers, and the students know that that means you need to sink in more.
All right, for cello and bass, again, we have some things that we talk about very quickly that we can remind them about. One is the EWP line, and I'm going to kind of show you. E standing for elbow, there it is, and W wrist, and then P pinky. So you can check the EWP line, okay? You can also, I talked about this earlier, but again, feel for rain. We do that with both cello bass because that again brings that hand in naturally. And then you can also have them imagine a Sprite can. We actually give our kids one. This is a Coke Zero, sorry, but you get the idea. So they're feeling the fingers spread apart, and again, that elbow up.
And along those same lines, for violins and violas, the dreaded orchestra pancake. So we say IHOP, I hate orchestra pancakes. So they remind them to straighten out that wrist. And while they straighten out that wrist, one thing to remind, and you could do this with all students or just as a kind of as a modification for a student that's just not getting it, is, oh, I lost my mouse, but you have a little slap bracelet with a mouse, a cat toy attached. He's not sticking very well, but there we go. And so you can see that he fills in that space to keep them from squishing the mouse. He does come off, so you can also let him come into that mouse hole, or we call it a wormhole, and put a little gummy worm in there as well to remind students not to do this. If you can see, I know that's hard to see.
All right, and last but not least, we're going to move on to our right hand information. So we're going to start off with our secret orchestra signal, our SOS. This is something we actually teach our beginning students like early on, even before they have instruments, like first or second day of class, because it's really cool. Number one, you're part of this new class and everything like that. And we say, if you see us in the hall, make sure you show us our secret orchestra symbol.
Or even at Walmart.
That's right. That's right. And it also helps us because a lot of times we're getting to know our kids and we're like, oh yeah, hey, you're in orchestra. Yay. Whatever. So anyway, ours happens to be this, which is the bulldog, but you can do any kind of whatever version of that just to help them practice their bow hand.
And then once you're starting to teach bow hold, again, because students are going to be teaching themselves, have a story so that they know the function of each finger. We talk about pirates, but I know a lot of people use llamas and bunnies and all kinds of other things. But we say the pirate captain has a bumpy chin and he comes underneath the deck of the ship. We build the bow hold in the middle first and then slide down. That your two middle finger pirates come over the stick because they're dangling their feet in the water. Pointer finger pirate is lazy and lays on his side. He's asleep. And for violins and violas, pinky pirate's afraid of the water. So he's on his tiptoes. For cello bass, your pinky pirate is braver. And then once they build their bow hold in the middle, we have them slide their hand down all the way till their thumb bumps the frog. And the most important thing about everybody's pinky pirate is he is allergic to silver, so keep him away from the adjusting screw. Again, any story that's going to help your students remember what to do with each finger and keep their fingers curved and relaxed.
And once you're working on the bow hold, you can practice that on a lot of different things. We actually don't usually start with the bow. We start with pencils, something that's smaller, lighter, easier to manage. You can also use, I have a pen, but you can use straws, pixie sticks, a lot of those things like straws. You can see immediately if they're tense or whatever, because you see the straw bend. Glow sticks is a lot of fun. We did that just for May the 4th be with you. Bow hold scavenger hunt. You can do that with things in their book bag or things at home. We did this when they were online and we had kids coming back with bananas and all sorts of fun stuff. So anything that you can do, it's just skies repetition. It makes them still practice the bow hold stuff.
And we have a saying that we like to say in our orchestra room.
Yes.
That is, every day is bow hold day.
Thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you, sharing our ideas with you, and let us know if you ever have any questions.
And good luck with your beginners and enjoy them, because to me, it's the most fun thing about teaching.
Amen.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from these awesome Georgia educators. And if you'd like to be one of our teacher features at a future webinar because you have something you really enjoy talking about, let me know. I'd love to hear some of your ideas. So if you like to have some good reflection time and think about how to plan for the year ahead, hop in our chat and share some ideas with us. Or what are your favorite tricks and tips for getting your beginners set up well established? Or even your current students who maybe aren't beginners but need some reminders. Hopefully we can have some great discussion on that, and I look forward to hearing from you in our discussion post.